Today, we're diving into a skill that's crucial for smooth conversations, agreeing and disagreeing politely. Let's face it, we don't always see eye to eye with everyone. And when that happens, it's easy for things to get awkward or even heated if we don't know how to navigate those moments. Specifically, we will focus on these 5 phrases. 1. I couldn't agree more. 2. Fair enough. 3. That's a good point. 4. I see where you're coming from. And 5. I'm not sure I agree with that. Imagine this. You're sitting at your favorite cafe, enjoying a cappuccino, and chatting with a friend. The conversation drifts into a passionate discussion about something you both care about deeply. Say, the benefits of remote work versus the traditional office. Suddenly, you realize you don't exactly share the same perspective. What do? You want to express your thoughts, but also avoid offending them or coming across as dismissive. In today's video, I'll walk you through 5 simple yet powerful phrases that you can use in any conversation. Whether you want to enthusiastically agree, show understanding, or respectfully challenge someone's opinion, these phrases have got you covered. Imagine this. You're chatting with a friend at the cafe and they casually remark, I think this place makes the best lattes in town. You smile and respond enthusiastically, I couldn't agree more. This phrase is perfect for those moments when you want to express wholehearted agreement. It's warm, affirming, and lets the other person know you're completely on the same page. Think of it as the verbal equivalent of a high five, friendly, enthusiastic, and connecting. For example, if someone says, taking a walk outside every morning really clears my head, you could say, I couldn't agree more. It's such a great way to start the day. This phrase is particularly useful because it works across casual and professional settings. At work, if a colleague suggests, we should prioritize this project to meet our deadline, you might respond, I couldn't agree more. It's definitely the top priority right now. It's not just about agreeing, it's about reinforcing a sense of connection and shared perspective. Using this phrase in conversations also helps build rapport. People naturally appreciate it when someone validates their thoughts or ideas. Now let's switch gears. Imagine your friend says something you don't entirely agree with, like, I think working in an office is way better than working from home. While you might feel differently, you still want to acknowledge their perspective without diving into an argument. This is the perfect moment to say, fair enough. This phrase is like a verbal handshake. It acknowledges their point without necessarily agreeing or disagreeing outright. For instance, if a friend says, I prefer to plan my day hour by hour, it keeps me productive, and you're someone who likes to go with the flow, you could respond with, fair enough. Everyone has their own rhythm. It shows you respect their opinion, even if it's not the way you operate. At work, if a teammate suggests an approach you're not entirely sold on, you could say, fair enough. Let's see how it plays out. This keeps the discussion open while giving their idea a chance. The beauty of this phrase lies in its neutrality. It's a subtle way of saying, I hear you, while leaving room for further discussion if needed. It's particularly useful in maintaining harmony during debates or collaborative efforts. By using fair enough, you show that you value the other person's input, even when your perspectives don't align perfectly. Sometimes, someone says something that catches you off guard in the best way. Maybe it's a perspective you hadn't considered, or a particularly insightful observation. Instead of moving on too quickly, pause and say, that's a good point. This phrase highlights their strength and shows you're actively listening. For example, if your friend mentions, reading physical books is more satisfying than reading on a tablet, you might reply, that's a good point. There's definitely something about the feel of a real book in your hands. This phrase is particularly effective in fostering collaborative conversations. At work, if a colleague proposes an idea during a brainstorming session, you could say, that's a good point. We could definitely build on that. It encourages a sense of teamwork while giving credit where it's due. People appreciate when their contributions are recognized, and this phrase does just that. Using "that's a good point" also keeps the dialogue balanced. It reminds the other person that their input is valued and that you're not just waiting for your turn to speak. It's about creating a give-and-take dynamic where both parties feel heard and appreciated. Whether you're chatting with a friend, collaborating with a coworker, or even engaging in a friendly debate, this phrase helps build a positive and productive atmosphere. There are times when someone shares a perspective that you don't entirely agree with, but you can still understand their reasoning. In these moments, saying, "I see where you're coming from," can be a game changer. It bridges the gap between agreement and disagreement, showing empathy and understanding without requiring you to abandon your own stance. For instance, if a friend says, "Social media is making people less connected in real life," you might reply, "I see where you're coming from. It can definitely be a distraction sometimes." This phrase signals that you're open-minded and willing to consider their viewpoint. At work, if a teammate suggests a different strategy for tackling a project, you could say, "I see where you're coming from, and it's worth exploring." This keeps the conversation collaborative and respectful, even when there's a difference of opinion. What makes this phrase so powerful is its ability to de-escalate potential disagreements. It validates the other person's feelings and perspective, making them feel understood. It's not about agreeing. It's about finding common ground and keeping the dialogue open. Whether you're navigating a debate or simply exploring a new idea, "I see where you're coming from" is a versatile tool for building connections. Of course, there are moments when you need to voice your disagreement. It's okay to have differing opinions, but how you express them matters. Instead of outright dismissing the other person's idea, you can say, "I'm not sure I agree with that." This phrase softens your stance while leaving room for discussion. For example, if your friend says, "Everyone should work weekends to boost productivity," you might reply, "I'm not sure I agree with that. I think downtime is essential for creativity." Notice how this phrase keeps the tone respectful and non-confrontational. At work, if someone proposes an idea that doesn't align with your perspective, you could say, "I'm not sure I agree with that. What if we consider this alternative?" This opens the door for constructive feedback and collaboration. Using this phrase shows that you value the other person's input, even when you see things differently. It prevents the conversation from becoming defensive or hostile and keeps the focus on finding solutions or understanding each other better. By disagreeing respectfully, you maintain the integrity of the dialogue while expressing your thoughts confidently. Reflecting on the conversation, I realize how effective these 5 phrases are for navigating tricky discussions. "I couldn't agree more" helps build instant connection, while "fair enough," and that's a good point, allow me to acknowledge the other person's perspective. "I see where you're coming from" bridges the gap between agreement and disagreement, and "I'm not sure I agree with that" provides a way to voice differing opinions respectfully.